Right now, families in Indianapolis are being ordered to evacuate immediately as floodgates close on the White River. This is day 6 of a historic flood disaster across Indiana, and I need to tell you, it is not over yet. We are talking about a rainfall event so extreme, it only has a 1 in 1,000 chance of occurring in any given year. Flood records that have stood since 1913, over 113 years, are being shattered at multiple river gauges across the state. And here is the kicker. More heavy rain is in the forecast for today and again tomorrow on ground that is already completely saturated. Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday, August 15th, 2026, and this is your full Indiana flood situation update. We have got a lot to cover: active warnings, river forecasts, evacuation orders, and what the next 48 hours look like. So let's get right into it. Starting with the most urgent story. Indianapolis right now, and y'all, this situation is as serious as it gets. At 12:28 this morning, the city of Indianapolis issued an emergency alert system broadcast. That is the highest level of emergency notification. The message was direct. Residents in Rocky Ripple need to leave immediately as the Department of Public Works closes the floodgates on the White River. If you are in Rocky Ripple, in Ravenswood, or in the Broad Ripple area near the river, you need to go right now. Do not wait. Do not think it will not reach your house. This is not a drill. So let's talk about why this evacuation is happening and what the White River is doing across the Indianapolis metro area this morning. The National Weather Service out of Indianapolis issued a flood warning for the White River at a location called Ravenswood earlier this morning. Ravenswood is a key gauge point that directly monitors flood levels for the northwest side of Indianapolis, and the numbers there are alarming. Flood stage there sits at just 6 feet, and the river is forecast to crest at just over 12 feet this afternoon, according to the National Weather Service. That is more than double flood stage, folks, and at that level, water is riding right at the top of the Rocky Ripple levee. Levees, for those who may not know, are engineered earthen barriers designed to hold back floodwater and protect the neighborhoods sitting behind them. When water reaches the top of a levee, any additional rise or any structural weakness can lead to overtopping or a catastrophic failure. That is exactly why the city is closing those floodgates and why the evacuation order is in effect at 1 in the morning. Moving just a bit downstream, let's look at the White River at Nora, which covers the northeastern Indianapolis area. At midnight, the river at Nora was sitting at 17.5 feet against a flood stage of just 11 feet. The forecast calls for the river to rise to a crest of 20.5 feet this afternoon, and that approaches the flood of record at this location. At 20 feet, the NWS says floodwaters approach Keystone Avenue north of the river, with much of Ravenswood and Mystic Bay under 3 feet of water. Shore Acres and Williams Creek will be cut off east of Murat Park, and the flood warning at Nora stays in effect until early Tuesday afternoon. So this is not a one-day problem for Indianapolis. We are talking about days of elevated river levels yet to come. Now let's move just north to Noblesville in Hamilton County, and this is where the most extreme flooding is happening right now. The White River at Noblesville crested at 24.6 feet overnight against a flood stage of 14 feet. That is already a massive, dangerous event. But here is the staggering part. That 24.6-foot crest shattered the previous record of 23.8 feet, a record set on March 25, 1913. For a record that stood for over 113 years, gone in a single night in August 2026. The NWS says at record levels, numerous evacuations are underway with considerable damage to roads, businesses, and private homes across the area. Drone video from the town of Yorktown, just east of Noblesville, shows extensive flooding across the entire floodplain. It looks like a lake where streets used to be. The flood warning at Noblesville stays in effect until Tuesday morning, meaning the river won't fall below flood stage for at least 3 more days. Let's move northeast now to Anderson in Madison County, where the White River set yet another historic record in the last 24 hours. At its peak, the White River at Anderson reached 24.9 feet, obliterating the previous record of 23.6 feet, also set back in 1913. Let that sink in. The flood that defined Indiana weather history for over a century, gone, shattered, a new record set in August 2026. As of midnight, the river at Anderson had dropped slightly to 19.6 feet, meaning the crest has passed here, but major flooding is still very much ongoing. Flood stage there is 10 feet, so at 19.6, we are still talking nearly double flood stage, and the warning stays in effect until early Wednesday morning. The NWS also warns that if the levee at Park Place fails, evacuations across Park Place, Irondale, and areas along Alexander Pike will be required immediately. Now, I want to take a moment here to talk about what real people are going through right now, because numbers don't tell the full story. 70-year-old Charlie Simmons of Anderson had just finished renovating his home 2 months ago. This week, it flooded completely. I told CBS News, financial-wise, I'm cooked. Start again at 70 years old. What are you going to do? My goodness. Tony Smith, also of Anderson, lost both his house and his business. We are totally devastated. 5 feet of water in all of our homes here. In Cambridge City, a small town in Wayne County, residents had to be rescued by boat after floodwaters filled the streets several feet deep. One man clung to a light pole in the middle of a flooded street as muddy brown water swirled around him before rescuers could reach him. Newcastle recorded approximately 11.23 inches of rain in roughly 31 hours, according to AccuWeather, a rainfall event meteorologists classify as a 1 in 1,000 year occurrence. Let that number hit you. Now let's expand beyond the White River Basin and look at what the Wabash River system is doing across western Indiana right now. The Wabash is Indiana's largest river, and right now it has flood warnings in effect all the way from Lafayette in the north down to Riverton near the Illinois border. At Lafayette, the Wabash is at 17.1 feet against a flood stage of 11 feet, with the flood warning in effect until further notice. At that level, the NWS says extensive flooding covers many acres of agricultural land. State Road 225 is closed, and all parks in the Lafayette area are underwater. The river is expected to rise again to 17.9 feet by Monday morning, so this is not cresting yet for central Indiana. At Covington, further south on the Wabash, the river is at 20.3 feet and is forecast to crest at 22.6 feet by Tuesday evening. And at Terre Haute, a major city in western Indiana, the Wabash is at 18.1 feet, forecast to crest at 21.7 feet by Monday afternoon. The NWS says at 21.5 feet, the entire west side of the Wabash from Sugar Creek to US 40 and the I-70 will be flooded. The Wabash River flood warning at Terre Haute runs until Sunday, August 23rd, a full 8 days from now. This is a slow-motion disaster still unfolding. For viewers in northwest Indiana, the Kankakee River near Shelby has a flood warning in effect with moderate flooding now forecast. U.S. Route 41 northbound is already inundated south of the Kankakee River Bridge, and multiple residences along Westwood Drive are threatened as the river continues rising. Down in the southeastern corner of the state, the East Fork White River system is about to get its turn with major flooding. So listen up if you live down there. At Seymour, the East Fork White is already at 16.9 feet with a flood stage of just 12 feet, and major flooding is ongoing until Wednesday afternoon. Roads near the river in Jackson County are flooding, livestock and equipment are being moved to higher ground, and State Road 760 East is already impassable. Near Rivervale in southwestern Indiana, the East Fork isn't even above flood stage yet, but it will be by Sunday afternoon, so the wave is still moving south. The forecast there shows the river cresting at 23 feet by early Tuesday morning, with a flood warning running all the way until Friday, August 21st. This is what river flooding does. Folks, it cascades downstream. What started in east central Indiana is now rolling south and west through the entire river network. All right, let's talk about road closures and infrastructure damage, because getting around Indiana right now is an absolute nightmare. The I-70 westbound is closed near Centerville Road at mile marker 146 in Wayne County due to flooding, with traffic diverted to US 21. And here's something that will blow your mind. A section of the I-70 physically buckled under the relentless rainfall earlier this week. An interstate highway collapsed from the water. US Route 40, historic Route 40, the old National Road, is closed in both directions at Dale Avenue in Wayne County due to flooding. State Road 38 in Wayne County has a portion of the actual roadway completely washed away, with INDOT crews blocking both sides. Do not attempt to drive there. Riley Road in Newcastle collapsed, exposing a deep water-filled cavity beneath the road surface. The earth literally swallowed the road whole. And I need to flag something critically important for anyone near floodwater in Delaware County right now. There is a toxic contamination alert in effect. Delaware County Emergency Management says the floodwaters have mixed with sewage, gasoline, and other hazardous chemicals from surrounding areas. This is not ordinary floodwater. This contaminated water can release toxic gases into the air, causing sudden nausea, severe headaches, burning eyes, sore throat, and difficulty breathing. Do not wade through floodwater. Do not let children play in it. Stay out of it entirely. This is a serious public health hazard. All right, now let's step back and look at the big picture. Why did this happen, and what caused an event of this magnitude to unfold over 6 consecutive days? This all started on Tuesday, August 11th, when a powerful derecho, that's a line of destructive straight-line windstorms, blasted through the Midwest. Wind gusts hit 99 miles per hour in Gary, Indiana, with other locations recording gusts above 90, trees down, power lines down, and hundreds of thousands without power. That storm left the ground across Indiana already stressed and soggy, and then the rain came and it didn't stop. Here's the interesting thing about why. The root cause of everything you're seeing right now is what meteorologists call a stalled surface frontal boundary. Essentially, a weather front that just got stuck. Normally, weather fronts move through an area in a day or two, but this one parked itself right over Indiana and the Ohio Valley and simply refused to budge. With the front stalled mesoscale convective systems, those are large organized thunderstorm complexes kept training over the exact same areas day after day after day. Meanwhile, the atmospheric setup was drawing in tropical moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, with precipitable water values approaching 2.4 inches across the region. To put that in perspective, that is an enormous amount of moisture for mid-August over Indiana. Essentially, hurricane-level atmospheric moisture sitting right over the Midwest. The result, 6 consecutive days of heavy rainfall events, 177 flash flood incidents across the Ohio Valley since Monday, and 7 flash flood emergencies declared since Tuesday. Governor Mike Braun has now declared a statewide disaster emergency and filed a presidential declaration request with FEMA while mobilizing the Indiana National Guard. Indiana officials confirmed at least 5 storm-related deaths as of Saturday, August 15th, including a 4-year-old boy in Jennings County and 2 victims in Delaware County. A 2-year-old girl in Rush County nearly drowned. A farmer in the area assisted emergency responders in rescuing her, and that child is alive because someone acted fast. More than 700,000 customers lost power across Indiana and Illinois combined at the peak. NIPSCO alone reported 313,000 outages in northwest Indiana, its largest ever, with roughly 150,000 still without power as of Saturday. All right, folks, now for what everyone really needs to know. What happens in the next 48 hours? Let's go to the forecast. The Weather Prediction Center, that's the division of the National Weather Service that handles rainfall forecasting, issued their excessive rainfall outlook overnight. And I will be honest with you, the news is not good. For today, Saturday, August 15th, there is a moderate risk of excessive rainfall over east central Indiana, and moderate risk is not a minor designation. Moderate risk means at least a 40% chance of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles of any given point in that zone. That is a significant threat level. We are talking about more heavy rain falling tonight on ground that is already 100% saturated. There is literally nowhere for the water to go except straight into the rivers. This is exactly what forecasters call a hydrologically sensitive setup. When the soil is saturated, even a moderate rainfall event can trigger a major flooding response. But here's the part of the forecast that really caught my attention. The Day 2 excessive rainfall outlook, that is for tomorrow, Sunday, August 16th. The WPC has issued another moderate risk of excessive rainfall for a corridor that includes east central Indiana into central Ohio, Fort Wayne to Zanesville, Ohio. And this is not a borderline moderate risk designation. The computer models are showing quantitative precipitation forecast amounts of 2 to 4 inches or more for Sunday alone. The RRFS, the ARW, and the ARW2 models all show widespread higher totals, and the 3-hour flash flood guidance exceedance probability hits nearly 60%. Now, I'll be honest, models have been all over the place this week, and yesterday's runs were showing slightly different track solutions for the rainfall axis on Sunday. But here is the thing. Even the lower-end model solutions are showing enough rain to create serious problems on ground that has been soaking for 6 straight days. There are even low-end probabilities being flagged for what forecasters call 100-year annual recurrence interval events in that zone for Sunday. Let that register. To put that in plain language, after 6 days of historic flooding, another potentially record rainfall event is possible for parts of Indiana and Ohio this coming Sunday. The WPC specifically called out the severely saturated ground conditions as making this situation especially dangerous, even for what might normally be a modest event. Now, for the convective outlook for Sunday from the Storm Prediction Center. Indiana sits in a marginal risk zone for severe thunderstorms on day 2. The slight risk area sits to the east, covering the Ohio Valley and into the mid-Atlantic, with potential for damaging wind gusts from organized storms. A couple of shortwave impulses, those are upper-level energy packets that trigger storm development, will be moving through the region on Sunday afternoon. Strong wind shear, high Cape values, and precipitable water near 2 inches all support organized convection, meaning any storm can produce very heavy rainfall very quickly. CAPE stands for Convective Available Potential Energy. Think of it as the fuel available for thunderstorm development. The more CAPE, the more explosive the storm potential. So here's how this plays out. Scenario 1, the drier solution, where rainfall stays mostly below 2 inches and rivers crest close to current NWS forecast levels. Scenario 2, the middle solution, where 2 to 3 inches fall over already saturated ground, pushing several rivers, including the White at Nora, above record levels. Scenario 3, the worst case, 4+ inches from training storms Sunday into Sunday night, causing additional record crests across multiple river systems simultaneously. Right now, the models are broadly clustering around Scenario 2, but that 60% flash flood guidance exceedance probability means we cannot rule out Scenario 3. If the Day 5 outlook holds as we get to Day 4 and Day 3 forecast updates, I will have daily videos breaking down the exact model solutions as this evolves. Now, let's walk through what the rivers are expected to do over the next 48 hours based on current NWS river forecast statements. White River at Ravenswood, Indianapolis, cresting at just over 12 feet this afternoon, with the levee at critical threshold and floodgates already closed. White River at Nora, Indianapolis, rising to a crest of 20.5 feet this afternoon. This may approach the flood of record at this location. White River at Spencer in Owen County, forecast to rise above flood stage late tonight and crest at 19.5 feet by Wednesday morning, closing Gosport Road. Driftwood River near Edinburgh in Johnson County, currently rising, forecast to crest Sunday morning, with a flood warning in effect through the weekend. East Fork White River near Rivervale, rising above flood stage Sunday afternoon, cresting at 23 feet early Tuesday morning, with the warning in effect until Friday, August 21st. Wabash River at Terre Haute, currently at 18.1 feet, forecast crest of 21.7 feet Monday afternoon, with the warning running all the way until Sunday, August 23rd. White River at Edwardsport in Daviess County doesn't even start flooding until Sunday evening and won't drop below flood stage until August 24th. The wave keeps moving downstream. Now, what about beyond 48 hours? When does this flooding finally start to ease up for communities that have been underwater for nearly a week? The good news is that the stalled weather system is expected to shift eastward sometime around the middle of next week, bringing drier and warmer conditions by Wednesday and Thursday. A ridge of high pressure is expected to settle in from the Great Lakes, pushing temperatures back towards seasonal averages. Northeastern Indiana will likely see improvement first. But, and this is absolutely crucial, the Wabash River corridor will remain in flood through next weekend into the week of August 22nd through 24th. River flooding doesn't just stop when the rain stops. All that water in the upper tributaries has to work its way downstream, and that process takes days. For many communities in western and southwestern Indiana, the worst of the flooding is still ahead of them. The wave is moving downstream and it has not arrived yet. I want to close this forecast with something really important. Safety, because the number one killer in flood events is not the river flooding your living room, it's vehicles. Most flood deaths in the United States occur in cars. When people try to drive through water on a road and drastically underestimate the force of moving water. 6 inches of fast-moving floodwater can knock you off your feet. 2 feet of water will float your car, and once a car is swept away, survival odds drop dramatically. The National Weather Service has one golden rule for this situation: turn around, don't drown. If you see water on a road, do not cross it, period. You cannot tell the depth of water covering a roadway. You cannot tell how fast it's moving. You cannot tell if the road beneath has already been washed out. And please be especially cautious at night. It is far harder to recognize the dangers of flooding in the dark. If you hear rushing water, get to higher ground immediately. Let's do a quick summary of what you need to know right now. Rocky Ripple in Indianapolis has a mandatory evacuation in effect. If you're there, leave immediately. The White River at Noblesville crested at a record 24.6 feet with major flooding and evacuations in effect through at least Tuesday. A moderate risk of excessive rainfall is in effect for east central Indiana both today and again tomorrow, Sunday, August 16th. More flooding is coming. Flood warnings are in effect for more than 20 river gauges across Indiana on the White River, Wabash River, East Fork White River, and multiple tributaries. The flooding will not end with the rain. Downstream communities along the Wabash and East Fork White River systems face flooding through next weekend at minimum. Do not drive through flooded roads. Do not enter floodwaters. Do not ignore evacuation orders. And watch out for toxic contamination in the floodwater in Delaware County. For the latest river levels and warnings, go directly to weather.gov. For road closures, check the INDOT TrafficWise app or website in real time. For emergency assistance, contact your county emergency management agency. And if you are in immediate danger, call 911. Do not hesitate. This is one of the most significant inland flooding disasters Indiana has ever experienced, and we are still in the middle of it, not at the end. I will be back with updates as conditions change. If significant new developments occur with the levees or any evacuation orders, I will post updates immediately. Make sure you hit like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you get those updates the moment they're posted. Check in on your neighbors, especially elderly residents or anyone who lives near a river or in a flood-prone area. Community is what gets people through events like this. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there.